In a previous video, I identified 6 key areas that I think make someone a great CEO. The first of these, and of utmost importance, is creating a compelling vision and strategy. Now, as the leader of the organization, it's not necessarily your job to determine how everything is done, but it is absolutely up to you to decide the overall direction of the company and the key drivers of how you'll get where you're going. Vision provides clarity to your team, as well as extra motivation as they connect their day-to-day work to a big picture that they care about. It also serves as a foundation for creating a solid strategy, for aligning various departments, for ensuring consistency in decision-making, and for setting ambitious goals. A defined strategy communicates what's important, helps with prioritization, provides focus on areas that really make a difference to delivering the vision, and if it's done well, it will enable your business to make the most of things like technology trends, societal shifts, and any opportunities that come your way. Now, there are many approaches to developing a compelling vision and strategy. Here's what's worked for me. Start by defining the difference that you're trying to make. So for any company to be successful, it should make things better for a group of people. That might be everyone, or it could be a very small defined group. Focusing on the impact that you'll have for these people is a great place to start with your vision. The first question to ask is, what problem are you solving? Then, who has this problem? Followed by, why is it a problem? And what's the impact of this problem? If you're not solving a problem, you do not have a business. If you can't define who's suffering with it, you don't have a market. And if the impact of the issue is insignificant, you're going to find it very difficult to sell enough of your solution to enough people. After this, you can move on to benefits. If you solve the problem that you've identified, what difference would it make to those that you solve it for? What's the positive impact of the solution? Think big. You can either solve a big problem for a few people or a small problem for lots of people, but try to determine the largest version of the impact you'll have. And at this point, don't worry about whether you know exactly how to deliver it. If you have a partial solution, or even if you just have a burning passion for helping the people you're focused on, well, that's fine as a place to start. Once you have the problem, create measures of success. How will you know if you've been successful in achieving your vision? It's important to set specific, measurable goals around this that you can tick off as you go. Now, some of them might be very far into the future, and you won't have a clue about how to achieve others. But translating your vision into specific outcomes that you can work towards is critical. And the more tangible these goals are, the better. So in biotech, it could be about saving the lives of 1 million patients, or 1,000 if it's a rare disease. If you're working on alleviating the effects of chronic non-life-threatening diseases, you might have to work a little bit harder to determine the specific endpoints, but they're still there. And as an example from my own company, Singular, one of our goals is to support 1,000 clients in a year. There are plenty of others that feed into our mission of building brilliant biotechs, and there probably will be several in your business too. Now, I'm a big fan of creating visions that you can't fully complete because that allows for ongoing consistency of direction. So if you have a vision like that, you can still set tangible goals that represent major milestones along the journey. Once you have your vision and have your clear goals, commit to a timeline. For each one of the goals you create, make sure that you do this. Open-ended goals are next to pointless and they create no urgency whatsoever. Now, your immediate reaction to this might be that you have no idea how long some of these things will take. That's okay. Take your best guess and commit to it. And if, as you approach the deadline, you see that you need to adjust it, make that adjustment, commit to the new date. Any business plan or any set of goals is just a guess when you start out. You should absolutely hold yourself accountable to the deadlines you set, and you should absolutely be realistic about when things need to change. But the urgency that deadlines create will compel you to move further, faster than if no deadlines were imposed in the first place. Next, it's time to identify key areas of focus and set goals around those too. So you've got your vision, goals, and timelines clear. Your next job is to create the strategy that will get you there. And a key point to remember here is that you don't need to define every step along the way. But there are usually many ways to achieve the goals that you've set. Your strategy should outline the key areas you'll focus on in order to achieve those goals in the way that you feel is best for your customers and any other stakeholders that are important, your company, and your values. These focus areas will be partly determined by where you are today. So I'll illustrate this with my own company. We spent the first 5 years or so of our life at Singular building a team who deliver brilliantly, refining our service offering to the point where we feel it's exactly where we want it to be, developing a brand that we're proud of, and identifying the specific audience that we feel we can provide the most value to. Now that all that's in place, our strategy is all about accelerating the growth of our business in order to serve as many customers as possible. And there are specifics around this, of course, as I've mentioned before. So that we can do that without wasting energy on unimportant things, I chose 5 key engines of growth. These are number 1, becoming an elite sales force and the best in the business. Number 2, world-class, value-driven, highly targeted marketing. Number 3, developing an unstoppable mindset. 4, growing our skills and building on our strengths. And 5, leveraging technology to augment our work. We spend time every week on these engines of growth, and they take up probably 70 to 80% of my attention. If something contributes to one of them, it's worth doing. If it doesn't, we discard it. We have goals and actions around each engine, and they provide real focus and clarity to our work. Next up is to communicate the vision and strategy and get the team's input, because all of this work is useless unless you communicate it consistently and you leverage your team to create the tactics that make the strategy work. And the first step's easy. Tell your team what the vision and strategy is. Answer their questions, listen to their concerns and feedback, and make sure there is absolute clarity on what you're trying to achieve and how you'll achieve it. The second step's easy too. Keep telling them over and over again, and much more than you think is necessary. Because as the CEO, you'll spend a lot of your time thinking about this vision and strategy, but the rest of your team might not, because they have plenty of other work to do, after all. And the more regularly you come back to the plan, the more ingrained it will become. And the more ingrained it becomes, the more easily people will make decisions that are consistent with it and come up with ideas to improve it. 1,000 times the message is a great principle to operate by. When you feel there's a strong understanding of the vision and strategy, then you can ask your team to come up with the tactics that you need to achieve it. You can contribute too, of course, but because they're closer to the day-to-day of your business, your team will usually have better ideas than you do. And if the team create the plan, it's much more likely to be implemented and followed through. You'll also foster a real sense of ownership that will serve to drive discretionary effort and commitment. And once your vision and strategy are in place, you have to track progress and refine your approach. Chances are the first version of your plan won't actually work. That's inevitable, and it's really not something to worry too much about. Because of this universal truth, however, you must monitor progress and make sure you're adaptable. There's a balance to strike here, though. You have to give your plan a chance to work before you tweak it. But at the same time, it's also a waste of effort to continue down a blind alley. Now, unfortunately, I haven't yet found any rules for the right mix, so you'll have to trust your instincts a little bit. KPIs are your friend as a CEO, but avoid using them to micromanage. The number itself is unimportant, but the meaning of the number is crucial. What KPIs can you track to determine whether your plan is working or not? And how can you break it down enough to analyze which parts of the plan are effective and which need more attention? Now, this will, of course, be different for every business, and it'll probably take you some trial and error. The targets you set around each of these KPIs at first will be a best guess as well, so don't be too beholden to them. Once you have 3 to 6 months of data, you'll probably be able to predict more accurately. The important questions when reviewing KPIs are, why do we think this number is what it is, and what can we do to improve it? Don't focus on just doing more of X activity, but on how you can change what you're doing with the result of X activity increasing, or maybe decreasing, whichever's better. Assume always that your team are working as hard as they can, and that the KPI results you see are a result of their approach, not their effort. Work with them to change the approach until you get the outcome you want. Then, work with them to figure out how to make it even better. Creating a compelling vision and strategy is your number one job as a CEO. The steps I've detailed above have worked for you. Tell me in the comments what you'd add or what you'd do differently.